operation on the ridge. Basic rule of aviation, give way to the right. If you've got oncoming traffic, you're going to turn to the right. The oncoming traffic should turn to the right, and you gain separation that way. It's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind, but when you're on a ridge, it doesn't quite work so well because the glider that's got its right wing on the ridge, can that glider turn towards the ridge safely? So that glider's got the right of way. For Newcastle area, Appalachians with the predominant winds, that's generally going to be the northbound aircraft has the right of way. The southbound aircraft, left wing on the ridge, gives way moving out upwind to gain separation as you're coming on one another. Reversing turns are always going to be into the wind away from the ridge. So what does that mean if you are flying with another aircraft? Where do you not want to be? Don't want to be above and outside because that's exactly where that glider is going to pull up. And they're in front of you, they're not even going to see you back there. Flying with another glider, it's also worth communicating with that glider. If you're passing somebody, well, if you're going to pass somebody, it would be great to get back into that area where the ridge lift is working the strongest so you can go faster, and that's typically going to be between the glider that you're passing and the ridge top. And if you can manage that, that's fine. If you can't do that, how are you going to pass a glider? If that glider is in the zone, the best spot on the ridge, but you're passing it one way or another, where's the best way to go? Go directly above? No?
Up and inside.
Up and inside. Inside towards the ridge. Okay.
Depends where.
Because that glider's not going to turn that way.
If he's not in a slot, you've got some flow that's going to also allow you higher to go inside. It'll be slower. The other one is
around the low.
Dropping
out, which is low and outside.
Yeah.
It means leave the ridge, but you have to have plenty of energy to do that. So there's two ways to do it.
But either way, you're not going to get in that zone where that glider is likely to turn up and away from the ridge.
You give him everything out there, yeah.
Okay, next thing on the ridge, another safety issue, minimum safe speed. What's a good minimum safe speed for a ridge? 60 knots? You can stay up on a ridge on 60 knots. Short fall. You have very, very small margin of error there. You have very, very little energy to get through problem spots. 60 knots is a fairly low airspeed to be on a ridge. Particularly if the ridge happens to be descending towards, say, the New River. Particularly if you've got a little bit of a tailwind that's pushing you in that direction. There are lots of different ways that you can get in trouble flying ridges around here. Wave suppression is another challenge that you're going to run into. Cause more than one glider to land out. Speaking of landing, 16 landing accidents over the year. 13 of those occurred at or on airports, many of them at the home field. A couple of things that happened. Coming in, impacted an object on final or landing roll. Golf cart that drove out in the middle of the runway. One glider hit a runway light. We don't have to worry about those. Many of the problems are going to be landing short, not maintaining sufficient energy to get to the runway. Particularly when gliders encountered heavy sink on final. One glider extended their pattern to allow a power aircraft to land. That was awful nice of them. And then the thing that we really have to pay attention to when we're in the pattern, not just what the other traffic in the field or in the pattern is, particularly aircraft that might be making a straight-in approach, but recognizing when you are in heavy sink or when you are getting below your glide slope for the runway. It's caught me once or twice. Hard landing. One glider pilot, I think it was a 301 LaBelle, pulled the flaps instead of the spoilers. And flap ship, like an LS6, you try that, that's going to put you on the ground real fast. And of course, we also have to deal with wind shear. So, preparation to land. One of the first things that you should be thinking about is making that commitment to land when you still have sufficient altitude, particularly if you're making an off-field landing. Plan your approach. What's the goal of an approach?
Fly the right speed.
That is the bottom line. And everything else originates from that final goal. There's no IP that's worth missing that for. Traffic. Like I said, you're in an airport, lots of aircraft potentially in the air. You might have power aircraft on the straight-in final doing something unusual. Communicate. Checklist, running your checklist, pre-landing checklist, fuel stall. Monitoring your performance and thinking about the effective wind, particularly if you've got a strong day that you've got 20-knot wind. One of the things you need to be prepared for, 20-knot wind, is what? Big thing is shear. So wind shear, estimate wind speed, add half of wind speed to your approach speed. Which pattern is best? We've got a 15 knots, I thought that was a 20 knot last time I looked at it. But you've got a significant headwind. 1,000 feet. Good pattern. What would be a good pattern? We've got the hangars over here, we've got the shed. This is north.
Where are you?
I'm in the glider.
That one?
Yes.
At 1,000 feet, that one?
Yes. Can we fly a normal pattern from this altitude? Most likely.
Yes.
Come right across. What if you're at 800 feet?
Yes.
$700 in a blank. How essential is it to fly this pattern? Would you be better off doing something along those lines? Or rather than that, what about something a little bit more like that? 400 feet. As we're flying patterns, we've got a strong desire, I think, to try to put it down right by the end of the runway, close to where the gliders are. That can get people in trouble at Newcastle, particularly on a day that there's strong sink. Nothing wrong with touching down 100, 200 yards down the runway. Shifting your aim point further down so that if you do find yourself below glide slope, you're not in a big problem. Effective wind, 20-knot headwind, or 20 knots out of the north. What's that going to do to our ground speed on downwind? Bumps it up. We're going to move down that the downwind really quick. And altitude. Not going to lose nearly as much altitude on that downwind. It's going to change the angle a little bit. Base leg. What does that 20-knot wind do to our ground speed on the base leg? Going to reduce it a little bit due to the crab that we're incurring. What about altitude loss? We're going to be spending more time on that base leg than normal as we're crabbing in so we don't get blown too far down. So we're going to lose a little bit more altitude on the base leg. Needless to say, when we turn final, ground speed's going to drop significantly. Altitude loss. Our glide slope is going to go down significantly as well. So that's another good reason not to go too far south of the field. What is the wind gradient? 20 knots aloft. You're coming in on final. 600 feet. You've got a 20-knot headwind. What happens when you get down to 200 feet?
Slightly less than.
It's going to be less than 20 knots. And as that glider comes down through that wind that's decreasing, what's going to happen? Going to lose airspeed. The glider's going to pitch over a little bit to maintain its airspeed. So you're going to start coming down quicker. And as you get even closer to the ground, that's going to continue to happen. So as you're descending through that gradient, very often you're going to find yourself shorter than you expect. So you've got to be prepared for that on a strong wind day. That's it. I think, next we've got regulations.
Yes. Yes.